Hello, and welcome to our fifth episode of the Crossroads Podcast. My name is Val, and if you have not figured it out yet, I have been selected to be the host this week, the hostess with the mostest. And before I have my lovely siblings introduce themselves, I do have some instructions. So every episode, we reference ourselves as Tonia being the original, Keisha the remix, JR the encore, and of course myself, the mic drop, right? So on this journey, we discovered that one time or another in our lives, we all have one thing in common. And that was that we all have inspired to be hip hop artists. So with that being said, I would like everyone to say their name and include their rapper name. Let's start with you, Tonia.
Hey, I used to rap in high school, so this is easy for me. I am Terrific T, and I'm here to tell about how I knock you out.
Terrific T. Everyone's like laughing because they did not see this coming. Okay, Keisha, introduce yourself.
My name is Keisha, better known as Special K. I'm on the mic today, so let me sway. Hey.
Special K. Brother.
What up, y'all? It's JR, other known as OX, baby. Let's go.
OX. Okay. Listen to that. So, the big sister, I don't have to share my rapper name, right? Do I?
Please.
Okay, I'm the big sister. So, my rapper name was Juicy V. Juicy V. It's been a while since I rocked the mic, having the crowd breaking and getting them hyped. But that's no problem because I never forget. It's a book gift giving thing, and I was born with it. Whatever. So,
yes,
bars, baby. So let's say, what would be our name if we was a rap group?
What our name be?
Yeah,
It was a group.
Tie-dyes.
Tie-dye.
Oh, I love it.
I love that.
Tie-dyes.
Tie-dyes. I love that one.
I like that.
Well, that was back then, but if we was a gang now, guys, we would probably be the AARP posse, the big gay and the gang,
Hey.
you know.
I would not be in that group. I don't know what group you.
I mean,
You about to get canceled as a host. You just got started.
Thank you. Please.
You and Jay have accepted your AARP
hey,
card.
all our shows will be like on a Tuesday at 1 p.m. Be a buffet in the back. That'll be dope.
Talking about some discounts at the movie theaters, right?
Man.
I love it.
We can get like branded, like orthopedic shoes.
Wheelchairs and stuff. Yeah. Well, before we get into the meat of things, I think we owe our following an apology. You know, we got to get our shit together. You know, it's been a while coming for us to have this episode. Man. So we promise that we're going to get better, right? Yeah. We're going to be consistent. Absolutely. You know, life just be life, and, you know, all of us is part of that. So we're going to get better with that, and we apologize. So,
little brother, go get y'all in check. We gotta get this right.
Yeah, we gotta get this right. Absolutely. So
we just had some technical difficulties.
Yeah, life.
That's what
life be lifing.
Life would be lifing, man. Yeah. So that being said, so I know we've shared plenty of times on this podcast that we have weekly FaceTime meetings, right? We meet every Tuesday, 7 a.m. That's one thing we found out very early, that we all morning people, at least try to be, right? And this is the place where I feel that we have discovered a lot of our similarities. But I also want to point out that we also recognize our differences and embrace them as well, you know, because that definitely identifies our uniqueness. So with that being said, and this first question is going to you, Jay. As it comes to our 7 o'clock Tuesday morning meetings, what does that mean to you, us having that call every Tuesday? What it means to you?
It's become like a highlight of my week.
Aw.
Yeah. Because especially, as we get more spread out, and like we just said, like sometimes life takes over, and if we're not intentional about, staying in touch and keeping up with each other, even on the day to day, days can turn into weeks and weeks can turn into months. So being intentional about, having that call every Tuesday, it's a highlight for me and allows me to keep up with my nieces and nephews and my traveling sisters. I don't know where the hell y'all be at most of the time. So it's good to know that, that we can catch up every week.
Nice. Highlight. I like that. Keisha?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what has it meant? It's like the connection without the effort, I would say. Meaning, like, I think one of the things that we'll probably talk about, and I know that question hasn't come up yet, is like one of the things Val and I share is like that we're not the most connected, like staying connected, so we have to be very intentional about it. But being that it's there, then it just happens. And like the last couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, like I was traveling doing whatever, and I wasn't in. Y'all know they renamed me. I got renamed Keisha Smith. When you don't come around, you get a different last name. But at the end of the day, it's still
how you work your way back in.
I've already been misnamed years ago myself, so I have already worked my way back in, and I'm doing so again. So here we go. But at the end of the day, it's like it is very natural. It's just a connection point that I'm so grateful that we have, and it just means the world to me, as it's been wanting that connection for years. So now we got it. And I can just see the elevate, like we have just so evolved, and it just continues to grow. And so I'm so grateful.
I agree. What about you, Terrific T?
Terrific T. I feel like we're creating a tradition, kind of. And yes, it is a highlight to my week. I look forward to Tuesdays. We get on the phone and the conversation is so organic. And we start with our good mornings, but who knows where we're going to land. We always learn something different about each other, and we discover more about one another, whether it's how much we're alike or something we didn't know that was a part of someone's journey. It's just it's a safe space for us where we're able to give advice and able to open up and to really be vulnerable in whatever space, be it marriage, be it motherhood, fatherhood, opportunities for careers. I just enjoy the space. Most Tuesdays, you guys talk me all the way to Charlotte because I'm driving to work, and it's just it helps me pass the time. And before I know it, I'm in Charlotte. But the conversation is always good. It's not like we're searching for things to talk about. It's not like it's rehearsed or we have to put an agenda together. It's just very organic, and we never know where we're going to land.
Yeah. I love that. And you're right. We could be in a hotel or doing our hair, getting dressed. But
exercising. Last week, all four of us were exercising.
Yeah,
right?
I love that one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All four of us. And, Miss Smith was our instructor, Keisha, aka Keisha. She was like, too fast, too slow. But we love you, Coach Smith. But
you're welcome.
Yeah, so definitely it is a highlight for me as well. I get to learn you guys, and I know I play the role of being big sister, or that's my name. But honestly, a lot of times I feel like the baby because I'm learning so much, So I enjoy it. Again, it's very organic. It's not rehearsed. It's not it's not even a hardship, the phone rings and I just pick up. Okay, I'm brushing my teeth, or I just woke up, or whatever it is, and and we drive with Tonia all the way to Charlotte, and then she hangs up. Look, I gotta go to work. Bye.
You're right, Val. She does use us, right?
You know what? Oh, I have to do better.
Okay, bye, Tonia.
Right.
Have fun at school.
To get off.
So, right. So, also, I wanted this to be some fun too. So, recently, well, maybe not so recently, we took a survey, right? And we all came to the agreement. It was a bunch of fun facts, right? And the name of it was Know Your Siblings. So, I'm not going to go through their entire questions, but there was some things on here that I just want to highlight. Okay. So, one of the questions was, who was your favorite rapper? And it scored very high, and it was Biggie, right? So Notorious B.I.G. No argument here with me. I'm from Bed-Stuy, right? So no argument with me there. But there's one I'm very curious about, Tonia, and I just want to know why. So the question was, and I want to see if you remember, but the question was, who you feel is the most overrated R&B artist? Do you remember who you put down?
I think I put Chris Brown.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love him.
I liked him in This Christmas. Was that the song? Was that?
He's overrated?
I think he's talented, but to me, all of his songs just sound alike. There was nothing that really ever stood out for me. And probably too, all of the legal implications outshadowed his work for me.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything extra special about any of his art or the work that he's done. I don't think he's an influence to the R&B culture. I don't think he has anything to push in the R&B arena. I just think he's overrated.
Okay. And you, Jay, do you remember who you said was not funny as a comedian, a famous comedian? Do you remember that?
Steve Harvey.
I agree with you there. Yeah. Ditto.
Yeah.
I can't stop looking at his line when, back in the day, I used to be staring at his line. I didn't hear the jokes, but go ahead.
I wish I didn't hear the jokes. And like I say, like it's like anybody else that if you talk enough or you tell enough jokes, eventually you're going to say something funny. So it's not like you don't say anything funny, but for the most part, I chuckle every now and then. I think he's funnier on clips I see of Family Feud than like stand-up. I've never found him funny. And I think he's a horrible actor. So yeah.
Ditto. I agree. But the reason why I just wanted to point those things out, because when I took the survey, in my mind, I just kept thinking about all the things that we are different in or similar, right? So I want to call this time the season of the unknown. So the season of the unknown is what I call the time that before I took the DNA test, right? So at the age of 12, right, that's when I found out, I discovered it. And then I didn't take the DNA test until I was 50 years old. So that's 38 years, right, of living in this season of unknown. So, and I think all four of us had different roles, right? So I would call myself the curious scary cat. So I was curious, and I poked my paw, but I wouldn't dare do more than that. So I was a scaredy cat, right? I was curious, but oh no, I'm not gonna do more, right? Tonia was either in the place of denial or just didn't give a fuck. Or,
that part right there.
Call a thing like a young would say.
Right there.
Or just wasn't interested, wasn't interested. Now, bro, he was in the space of, I would say, little brother. He shared that before, like, I can go left, I can go right, but someone else gonna have to lead, to the direction. He would go either way. But Keisha, you have always said that you always looked at me as your sister. You claimed me as your sister. And you said that a couple times. I'm not sure if I ever asked you why, but I'm asking you now. And maybe I don't understand why. Why did you have that feeling? Why did you thought so different than the rest of us?
That's a good one. I would say probably first of all, foundationally, when I think about certain things in my life, I feel like I have certain things that are like foundational to my core or foundational grounding spaces. One of them is definitely family. So I think about times when I was living in New York and learned about some family member that lived in DC, and then I go like, I got family, I'm going to Chuckalug, I'm looking to reach out. They might not reciprocate, but that's me. When I found out I had an older cousin that lived in Brooklyn, and I learned, I'm the one that got close to him. Like, I'm going to go meet it, and then I'm going to build a relationship, right? So that's kind of like the first thing I would say. Foundationally, it's family. The second thing I would say is that kind of by nature, it's like a trust and like, well, that's what it is. Like I have a sister and then that's what it is. When we met, and I couldn't say for sure that you were definitely like, he spit you out. I couldn't say that.
Right.
Although we can now. Right? But we can say that now. It's a definite, right? But then it was more like, well, she's my complexion and she's Tonia's build. She absolutely could be. And I'm leaning all the way in. And so for me, maybe it was just like with the law, it's innocent until proven guilty. So for me, you were mine until you weren't proven not to be. So you're my sister, and that was just the law. That's it. So somebody would have had to prove to me otherwise.
I just got the visual spitting, so that was funny. But I love that. Anyone else want to talk about that? Anyone else have anything to say? I saw Tonia shaking her head no.
Yeah, definitely was not in that space.
No.
As you were asking the question, the word denial came up for me too. In denial and not in acceptance of. And, I just kind of set, and we've talked about this in the past, that definitely was protecting my mom. But it was just so funny, and still is just interesting how all of that went away once it was confirmed. It all went away, and like, how could we not see it the first time that we met, the first time we were on a Zoom? Looking at you today, me and Keisha were just talking about, how could we not? She has daddy's eyes. She looks just like him, and so, you talk about how the aunts and uncles inspected you like you were a piece of meat. Well, we still do, because we're like, dang, she got daddy's this. And how could we not believe that she was our sister? But you know what? It's nothing like confirmation. And while maybe that shouldn't have been a part of the equation for me at that point in my life, it was. Would I have chosen differently now in my maturity? Probably so. But as a 16, 17, 18-year-old who, for whatever reason, I'm just glad we're here now. But that's where I was then. Glad that it's evolved. Glad that we're in the space. Glad that we are very intentional about making up for the time that we lost, and creating new memories. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And can I just say something to that? Because that's beautiful, right? Like, in all of our honesty and all of where we have been and all we've gotten to, the only adjustment I would make to what you just said, Tonia, is using the word maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe it shouldn't have been, because we all have, like, there is no shouldn't, right? We've all agreed that all of it has been divine, in divine order, and how it all worked out and where we got to. And like nothing really, it wasn't really a missing, it just was what it was. And now, like you said, we get to have and create from now, So I think it's just beautiful. However it is.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before too. I think it was also just a part of protecting our parents, and not wanting to, get out of our lane in a sense, and I know on my part, just allowing things to play out, and whether I think we can all agree that they played out how they were supposed to. All things did. Of course, there's always that wonder of
A little
what
bit.
might have been earlier. But I think respecting our parents and a lot of times, in a certain sense, fearing our parents and what might have come out of it, allowed us to kind of stay and let things play out as they did.
And as I reflect too, like Keisha said, like, when her and I first met, and we talked throughout the years, nothing consistent, but thinking back, Keisha, I probably wouldn't have never taken the DNA test without your connection. And you wasn't pushy at all. You never was like, come on and take it, girl, go on. It was nothing like that. It was just those simple little texts, those little calls when you called me when that, transition, those little touches made me like, okay, but you wasn't pushy at all. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful. And the scary cat got some courage and did what she had to do. And I would not change it for nothing. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So by me coming into the mix, I definitely know there had been some adjusting, right? So how do we identify with ourselves? Like, now that I'm here, our kids have to, oh yeah, I got another niece, or, who's the oldest, how we identify big sis, little sis, medium sis, little bro. I know yours haven't changed, right? But how do we identify? And do we feel any identity losses or gains from this experience? Who would like to start there?
Man, so first of all,
you got knocked down a notch on the totem pole.
It's just another one to gang up on me. So, but so whenever it used to be like my older sister and my middle sister.
Right.
And then people were like, oh, okay, so what do you mean you're middle? So I had to explain that, like, it was three of us. So Keisha's the middle child, so she's my middle sister. Now, not only, so there's two things that have come of that. Now I'm like, well, I'm going to my used to be oldest sister's house if I go to Tony's house. And now I got to tell the story. What do you mean? And so it's kind of like, it's an icebreaker, because then it's a conversation point, right? Because people are like, what do you mean used to be your oldest? I was like, well, let me sit down. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you a story. So it opens up an opportunity to share. And like every time I tell the story, it's like I'm telling it for the first time, because it's, it's exciting and it's still unbelievable in a sense. But identity-wise, like, I've always felt like the little brother, but the little big brother. So I always feel like I have to protect my sisters, right? So whenever, any of y'all going through something, especially in the moment, I always feel like I have to step in between, or at least ask, like, yo, you good? Like, so, as the only brother, I feel like it's my responsibility, and especially feeling that's kind of up to naught since Pop passed. So that's kind of how it affected my, I guess, I don't know if it's identity wise, but just how I relate to my sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll step in. So it's interesting, even though I know there are four of us now, if I'm telling a story and if I'm not conscious, I'll say three. And then I have to go back and retract. It's like, no, there are four of us.
Right.
And like Jay said, it's always a conversation starter. So it's always interesting to be able to tell the story, and everyone's always enlightened by the story. I guess from an identity standpoint, it was a struggle for me, honestly, at first, because being the oldest is a part of my identity. I've always been the oldest of three. That's just who I am. And so kind of tough for me to settle in at being second to the oldest. But I surrender. It gets easier.
It's a
I
process.
respect the fact that I'm not the oldest, but I always, in my mind, I still feel like I'm the oldest child.
I told you before we can share it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we can share it. That's good, because you know what? There's a reason why we didn't grow up under the same roof,
Oh,
like Keisha
yeah.
and Jay say, because we are too much alike. It's just so weird how we both operate in that space as the oldest. Personality wise, behaviorally, we have to share the space. So it was a challenge for me at first. And I'm growing into being the second oldest.
Well, my name's for y'all two are now like manager and supervisor. I got two bosses now.
Yeah, because they both operate like big boss.
Right. So
Keith, before you go, I just want to talk on that. So I remember our one of the Tuesday morning calls. Tonia shared that with us, that she felt that she lost something, lost a piece of her identity. And I was heartbroken, and I kept my composure. And on the side, I went to Keisha and was like, I was all, emotional, like, oh, like she lost something and I feel guilty because I gained something. And she's like, so when you gonna have that conversation with her? I said, no, I'm not, I'm waiting, like I'm not doing that. Because honestly, like I said before, like honestly, a lot of times in this journey, I feel like the baby. A lot of times, if you notice, I take a step back and I just soak it in, because I miss so much, So that was hard, Tonia, to hear you say that. And you kept, you made it clear, like Val, sorry, it wasn't Janet, Val, this is not against you. And I knew it wasn't. But my heart went out to you because that was not my intention, and I know you knew that, but I just felt bad, for you. So that was difficult. And then Keisha kept saying to me, kept encouraging me that I need to share that with you. I said, oh, in time. So, but now, like we said, we can share that. And also, y'all both would have been toe up, meaning Keisha and Jay, y'all would have just got the short end of that stick if I was around, because Tanya and I are carbon copies in a lot of ways. And probably Tanya, honestly, God knows what he was doing, right? Because I think we probably wouldn't have gotten along because we're just so much alike. Absolutely. And I just also want to share too, even with this journey, I believe I shared before that I have other siblings that my mom and stepfather had, right? So I also have to balance that piece because I don't want them to feel like they're losing too. So that's something else I juggle in my life and try to be intentional on. Yeah. So I just wanted to share that piece too. So that's the other side that I deal with too, that I have to be mindful of. That because I have, this new family, that don't mean I get rid of the old family. And I don't say that, but I don't want no one feeling that way. So it's a balance.
And the funny thing, the interesting thing is now we can joke about it because now I'm always little sister. Hey, little sis. Right. I'm just like, oh God, here we go. Hey, big sis.
Yeah, and you may have said it this way just now, Val, and I missed it. So if I did, I'm sorry. But I remember you saying to me when we did talk about, Tonia feeling like she lost a part of her identity, is you said, the part about feeling bad was like for her to lose, like for you to gain yours, she had to lose hers.
Yeah.
The way you said it that way, I think really what really resonated.
And I got very emotional.
Yeah, it's like I didn't want to, for me to be able to gain mine, my sister had to lose part of hers, and that was a lot. For me, role wise, it's no different, right? I'm still the middle child, right? But it just feels like I have two big sisters, which really is just, I just gained a big sister, and so yeah, I think for me, it's just more of, it feels, I didn't feel incomplete before at all. But somehow now it just feels complete. And it just feels like the full circle. And probably more so because Val, I've said this before. You've said this before. I've mentioned that you said this before, that you were like the missing link. And so for me, you hold such characteristics that are all three of us, that it feels cozy to me. So for a little sister who can lean in with you, I can lean in with Jay, I can lean in with Tonia, and I can lean in with you, and you have a special piece to that puzzle. So I'm so grateful for it. But I don't necessarily feel my identity shifted at all.
No.
So, yep.
And another thing I want to point out too, even though Tonia and I are similar, I have similarities with all of you, right? So there's one that came up, again, I'm referencing back to our Tuesday call because I learned so much, right? So one of them was that Tonia is always on. And Jay, Keisha, and myself we can be on, but we do have an off button, an off switch. So that's one thing that you stand, to yourself, Tonia, with. But she's gotten better, right? She has, but all of us be like, oh, we don't got the energy for that. Like, we're not going to do all that talking. We don't have all the friends, so we do have that in common as well. So, and just discovering those little things, about our childhood. A lot of things on that 7 o'clock call we had never mentioned on the podcast too. We learned some things there too, right? So
yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to our kids, right, and our nieces and nephews, so on this journey, what do we see? Do you see anything? Let's start with you this time, Jay. Do you see anything in my kids that remind you of yourself or your kids or your other two sisters or even dad that wow, how did that happen?
Yeah. With Tori, it was immediate. Like how comfortable she is with herself and like being alone. Like she's never lonely. And she's okay with being by herself and just being okay. And that was immediately I picked that up.
And who's that?
With me.
You.
Yeah. And then with Josh, he reminded me so much of Pop with the way he is around kids. Because he's, immediately reaches out to kids are drawn to him, and he just has a way with, especially like with Drew. So Papa always had that with kids, and so it was just something I immediately picked up on.
He favors you too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and like watching him, especially at the reunion, I would just catch myself watching him like, yo, he's making like his facial expressions, even gestures with his hands. I was like, yeah, that's my nephew. Like, wow. Yeah.
Jay, are you saying that his gestures were like yours or like Dad's?
Like mine.
Like yours.
Yeah.
But his are like Daddy's.
Yeah, mine are like that. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. And he speaks with his eyebrows a lot like I do. So, but yeah, those were easy things to pick up on.
Yeah. So Tori, to me, was always a complete 50-50 lookalike of 50% of me and 50% of Tommy. But then when I put her beside Keisha, I'm like, whoa, is that my child? So that was always like, well, I didn't see that before. It's just those, once it got confirmed, like all these things came up, right? So do you see it too? Do you see the resemblance, Keisha?
Yeah, I do. It's funny when I look at, I guess it's both the eye area and the lip area, and it's like, I think probably it's more like the younger version of me, right? So when I look at her, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But I also can relate to JR with Tori and how she is, because that's something Jay and I share in common is I can be by myself lots. So, and so I could definitely see that. And another thing with Josh in like doing his own thing, floated his own accord, right? So I'm like, yeah, I can so feel that. Yes.
Where you get that from?
Yeah, that's me right there. So yeah, I definitely relate to him in that way for sure. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Any others in the kids?
I
Do
do.
we see any common traits?
I think you
personalities?
gave birth to my daughter because she looks more like you than she does to me, especially when you all are side by side.
Oh yeah.
When both of you have your glasses, it's like, oh my God. And I never really picked up on that until I think we went to, was it when we went to Virginia Beach? And you all took that picture side by side. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. I mean, and people were responding even on our social media posts, like they look exactly alike. So that's one. I think for both my nephews, Josh and Lincoln, the whole athletics piece is a connection that I have with them. Just to see that piece continue on and live through them athletically. Lincoln's carrying that torch now. Is just, and Skylar, Skylar is becoming a little athlete too. And so that just does my heart well. And to know that, okay, Jay was an athlete, all three of us actually. And Val, you play basketball, so all four of us were athletes.
Right.
But to see them carry it forward, it does me well.
Yep, and Skylar too. Like,
Yeah.
the first thing I say about, is she the tallest girl in the class? And yeah, I'm like, okay, that's me. That's my niece.
Yeah.
Big
Tallest
bone
girl
bit.
on the team, tallest girl in the class. Yeah.
Yep.
She got a mean elbow too.
And what about
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jay.
that's another episode, ladies and gentlemen. Uncle Jay, teaching dirty. And also our spouses too.
Oh yeah.
People we pick too are very similar in a lot of ways, which is interesting as well.
How so, Val?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, who's going to be the one to say it?
You saw Jay with,
Y'all sound like an amen choir, but without the voice.
Because
What's happening?
I guarantee you, if we just sent Wayne, Tommy, and Lady to the next reunion without us, everybody be just fine.
Oh, they be fine. Tell them we said hi.
Right. We're like, oh, y'all, they'd ask them, oh, you didn't bring your spouses?
So Val, what happened? We were together last week at the CIAA tournament. What happened? Todd, Wayne, and Tommy, and Albert, off by themselves somewhere.
Off by themselves.
So they don't need us.
Yep.
They know how to operate and navigate the space in our absence. They are perfectly fine.
Connecting with my aunts and uncle, right? My aunt and uncles. First time. Every time I call him, how's Tommy? I'm like, oh, he's fine. I'm just trying to get to know you because I didn't know you for 50 years, but he's good.
Uncle George called me. Uncle George called me and asked for Val's number so he could get Tommy's number from her. I just need to call her so I can call Tommy. Would you like me to just send you Tommy's number? I can do that.
Oh, that is funny.
Oh, man.
I didn't know that one time.
Okay, we only got enough time for one more question. This went quick, guys. I don't know how.
Look, I know we got only time for, I'm just going to mention this real quick. Nobody mentioned the cross teeth signature, right? So like how you found the picture of Josh as a kid and he had the teeth. So the front, there's a signature
trait.
Dental trait. That is good. Yeah, that was passed down, and so Dad had like one of his his front tooth crossed over the other one a little, and so it was passed on, and we see it in Josh, and so it's like what?
Yeah,
it's
so
always the same tooth that crosses over.
Yeah,
which is crazy, and I had to learn because. You guys would ask me something. Did this run in your family? Did that run? I'm like, no. So they asked, like, when you was younger, did your tooth cross over your other one? I says, no, not at all. So Tanya had it, right? You had it, right? You got
I
it from
did.
Dad.
I got braces to correct it.
Right. So I'm downstairs in the basement. And I happen to walk by Joshua's picture when he was 5 and 6. I'm like, oh shoot, his tooth crossed over. And I remember I got him some braces. So I took a picture and sent it. And they're like, yep, that's the tooth. I'm like, wow. So just those little things, man, right? That's crazy.
Yeah. I remember when I got braces, Daddy was so mad at me because I straightened my teeth out.
What you mean you gonna uncross
Is
your
that
teeth?
a glint trait or that was just a dad trait? Did anyone else do we know?
Being a glint trait. I don't recall. I just remember that
As far as I know, it was just
a daddy
him.
trait.
Just that.
Yeah.
And you was the only one that got it, Tanya? Keisha,
My kids
Jay?
didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
Jay,
Wow.
I don't think any of you
They
did.
passed to Josh.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right. Wow. This has been fun. So I got a lot of questions. I'm just trying to find the most impactful one. So share a statement that shocked a moment that you've learned about me or about this experience or this journey that touched you emotionally. Other than the tooth. So why you? Okay, go ahead, Jay.
Well, the biggest one for me is when this has been now about a year and a half. I was in the hospital. And
I just got a visual. Sorry. We bum rushed you, but go ahead.
Yeah, and on top of the fact that my sister,
episode.
That was the first experience I got of all three of my sisters bullying me at one time, but for good reasons. But I'm in the hospital, and so I'm used to nurses coming in and out, so I got to the point I wasn't really paying attention to who it was. I would just say hey and glance back over at the TV. And so somebody walks through the door, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And I turn back around, and I did a double take, and it was Val and Tommy. And so I'm accustomed to seeing certain faces, right? Tanya and Keisha always there. Mama, even though I told her not to come, she showed up. Oh man, but Mama's gonna always show up.
That's what mamas do.
But then in that, right? But apparently sisters too, because of course all y'all showed up, and this was still kind of early in the process. I was filling each other out and but knowing that oh shit, that this. It kind of hit me in that moment. I really have somebody else in my corner. So that was pretty big. And for Tommy to show up too, that was huge. So I ain't a really emotional dude like that, but I'm not afraid of my emotions. I just don't get emotional a lot. But that took me to a place, and thanks to my sister Keisha, I'm able to allow myself to go to those places. So that was huge for me.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was.
Well,
yeah, that's awesome.
That's right.
I think for me, during the family reunion, when all of us received the keepsake on behalf of Dad and Val's presence, everything just came full circle. It was Dad's. It was the reunion, the first reunion without Dad, and Val's first reunion connecting with the family. And for us to stand and honor him, for the family to honor him and Val be a part of that, it just touched me in a special way. For her to kind of really represent what we missed was so symbolic for what we were missing out on with his presence. And then she standing in the gap. Very special, very intimate moment. So that kind of hit home and kind of pulled at the heartstrings.
Oh, and then another piece for me. I don't think I ever shared this with y'all, but to see your walls come down, Tonia, surrounding this and Val, because just seeing how stern you were and how rigid you were at the beginning, to see your walls come down, I'm proud of you for that. And to allow yourself to be vulnerable and, like you said, to kind of submit to it. But that's a huge growth moment, I think, for you, and it's inspiring to see you grow in that moment. So that was big for me.
I appreciate that, Jay. And in full transparency, I don't remember how rigid I was.
Man, you was pretty stiff.
Full transparency, I know there had to be some hardcore feelings around it, because the one conversation I had with Val, it was all of 15 seconds, probably, maybe 45. And I know I was cold and hard, but I can't remember anything before then. I can't remember. I blocked all of that out, honestly. I blocked out what I said, how I felt, how I treated it. I don't remember.
Has it ever been something you've gone into to ask to see if you can pull something, or are you more of the mindset of like, that was then, this is now?
I think that's where I am now. That was then, this is now. I haven't dug deeper. Girl, and all kind of stuff is popping up in therapy, so it's likely to come up later. Who knows?
Yeah, it's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah.
Talking about walls, so Jam, like we said, we are very, very similar, Tonia, but my walls was different. So I would say the biggest, and I don't, it doesn't take much, I'm a crybaby. So that's one thing I'm different, right? But our very first Zoom call we had on Christmas Day, and it was just a simple thing of Tonia having a conversation with Josh about sports. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I almost lost it. I was crying, I was sniffing. It was just the mere fact of seeing my son speaks to his aunt, and because I've had these walls, because I ran from it, because I have convinced in my mind that, hey, you don't miss nothing you never had, right? I'm good. I survived, without them. So I'm good. I didn't live in a space of hate. I didn't live in a space of jealousy or envy. I just lived in a space of, hey, I'm supposed to be here. It wasn't an accident because I'm here, and I'm good. I'm good without. I didn't have it. So to see that and to actually see my wall fall, Jay, to see my wall go, wow, this is his aunt that he just met or just heard about a week ago, to see them just have a simple conversation about basketball made me like, wow, what the hell we did, but that was I was very emotional about that piece when that happened. The simple things like that. Yeah. Another shocker too, I think we learned this on the podcast, is the dad had a picture of Keisher and myself on the mantelpiece for years. I'm like, what? Nobody, that would have sparked some questions, y'all. Some questions, like he just kept that on his mantelpiece. Like, come on, so that was a shocker for me. That was a shocker.
Hopper, who this one?
No, but why she still there? Right. Why she still on the mantelpiece? So hey, y'all didn't ask me questions. So that was a shocker moment, and seeing Tonia speak to Joshua was my emotional moment.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Yeah, that's so, and it's so interesting about that picture on the mantle, because for me it was just, like we knew, I knew that y'all had a relationship, and it was just there. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I was even shocked to know how shocked you were that it was up there. It was just like part of it. It's so interesting, but Yeah, it's amazing how those things stand out. I would say for me, there's a couple, there's more than two, but these are the two that are coming to mind in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
One was the actual confirmation day, the actual moment you called me to say that it was so. Just, I don't know how really to put words to it. Just felt like relief. It felt like joy, like abundant joy. And I think because Jay and I have this in common, we sort of are like, we good energy, but it's pretty even kill, right? Takes a lot to get the like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it takes a lot to get like low, I'm so low, and sing a Negro spiritual, right? So it's so, like you got to do a lot to excite me. So, even when I jumped out the plane for the first time in skydive, I was just like, okay, I'm going to get nervous right when it's time. And it was like, nope, just jump. Oh, this is great. So it's interesting. But so for that moment to feel and experience that level of joy was so big and just so beautiful. Just kind of everything just kind of clicked and it was just so divine. So I'm so grateful for that moment. And then I would say another pivotal moment was, I don't remember when this was. It was just one of our conversations, Val, where I felt so seen and so embraced and just like, because it was so much, it just was just really beautiful. There's certain things that we do have in common that was like, I know you felt me in that, in my experiences. I felt you in yours. And
and I feel that, and I think like we celebrate our similarities, but I think it's very important that we celebrate our differences as well. Like I said, that's what makes us so unique, and that chain, that full chain. Me being the missing link, of course, but yeah. So, Jay, you wanted to share something today?
So two things, because I think this we've probably talked about in the previous episode, but I think the queen of similarities is Tonia and Val and they shiny stuff.
Lord.
So if y'all don't know, my two oldest sisters like bedazzled items,
blingy-ish,
bling stuff. So if you see some shiny stuff in the street, it's just my sisters.
But you know what? We came to the conclusion, Jay, that we like rhinestones and glitter, not sequins. We don't like the sequins. We figured that out.
There's a difference.
Yeah. So.
And we can say the same thing. There. Val and I can say that you and Keisher are more plain Janes.
Yes,
right. Pretty much.
Non-shiny folks.
Yeah, that could.
But Jay, we found you the nicest blinged out tie that you can wear the next suit you wear.
No, I think I'll take your word for it. Oh man, but yeah, so but y'all will hear plenty of that because we like to joke them about that. But a couple other things. First of all, we want to thank everyone, all of our listeners, all of our followers. We just crossed over 100 followers on our Facebook page.
Yay!
Whoop, whoop.
And in spite of us being inconsistent with our show times, we appreciate y'all and thank y'all for showing up and listening to us. This story is really important to us, and we hope that y'all enjoy it as well and it's become important to you. Secondly, you can find us on all your favorite podcasting platforms, but you can also now find us on our website at defylife.co under the podcast menu with Crossroads Pods, of course. So if you don't go directly to your podcast platform, you can always go to the website and check us out. There's us as well as all of our other podcasts in the network, as well as an opportunity to buy our Defy Life merch and also our upcoming Crossroads Pods merchandise. So you'll be able to buy a Crossroads Pods t-shirt soon. So definitely check us out at defylife.co.
Okay. That was a commercial? I don't know. So
Yeah, shameless plug.
That was an intermission. Let's
no,
keep
all
going.
right. Thank you so much, brother.
And now we gonna rap for y'all. No.
Yeah. We're gonna be fine. So I don't know. Okay, team. So that includes another episode of the Crossroads Podcast, our journey to making up for lost time, healing, and just simply loving on each other. So please, 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 if you have any questions, we're happy to answer, and we hope and pray by us sharing our story that it will mend hearts, encourage healthy connections, and promote love. Fab 4 is out. To the next time. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.